Hello, Power Up Gamers. Today I'm going to talk a little about disabilities and how to function with them and some of the struggles I've been through. Um, I was diagnosed with clinical depression. I had ADD. I've kind of learned how to work around that to some degree, time that happens. Um, I also have a form of dyslexia and also a short-term memory issue. That kind of places me, you know, on the autistic scale too. Um, I think a lot of people look at me and, hey, he looks normal. There's nothing wrong with him. And, that can be really frustrating sometimes. Um, I don't know how many times people like, oh, you're not trying hard enough, or you're just doing that on purpose. And it's like, no, those are issues I have. It's not easy. And it's funny, I was going through some of the Facebook posts a while back, and somebody talked about the spoon theory. Now, they told it in more of a D&D term, so I'm going to kind of do it that way too. Let's say spell points. Let's say getting up in the morning, brushing your teeth, taking a shower, taking medication, and getting ready for, let's say, whatever, work, or just getting up for the day. For some people, that takes 2 spell points. For others, it may take 7 or 8. And that kind of theory, believe it or not, I had a friend that has lupus. And then a couple others have other issues. And it's funny how that theory, once we talked about it, it kind of works for multiple things. It's sometimes things that some find easy aren't so easy on the other of us. And, man, I tell you what, I've been through it throughout my whole life of just people think you're being stupid, or I'll be honest, I learned a couple of times just to make it up like I'm doing stuff on purpose to test people or mess around with them or see what they do. And the reality is I'm just hiding my disabilities. It's just like I realized a couple of weeks ago, talking to somebody, and I just made the comment of, oh, I had a senior moment. Now, this person was older than me, and they kind of gave me a dirty look, and then and it kind of clicked in my head. I didn't even realize it up until that point. I was like, well, I guess the reality is I'm just a way for me to hide the fact that my memory is not that great. Talk about Finding Nemo with Dory kind of having those memory issues. I'm not saying I'm that bad, but I definitely had that kind of issue. And I met somebody, and I met a few people that are autistic, and I have to wonder with some of them if they've just learned to hide it and they don't show as much. But there's one I sat down with and we talked, and the more time we spent around each other, the more I was like, oh yeah, I see how I think like you and other people don't get it. Or they'd be saying something and they didn't get something somebody else said, and I would just explain it to them because I knew that it was something that. And so, seeing those things and learning them, it's hard. And I'll be honest, when I first started coming back into gaming, I got into a game on Roll20. And of course, they want to be on Roll20 and then on my phone for voice, or at least that's what I had to do. I didn't have an option for voice anywhere else. And I had a really hard time, and nothing against them, but their pacing was slower than what I was used to. And I didn't have anything to fidget with. And then somebody could say, oh, well, you're distracted and not paying attention. No, actually, no, I can. I even kind of proved it to them one day while seemed like I was zoned out, and then they asked me something, and I repeated everything that was said at that moment, up until that point. And I think finding somebody that's a little more willing to listen to you, that you do have those issues, can make a difference in your game. And not people that kind of look down on you or treat you like I know I felt it many a times. People act like you're dumb, or because you can't do something they can do, that makes them better. In life, we all have different things we can and can't do that are easier or harder for us. It may sound a little weird, but I read a book about managing years ago called Whale Done. And part of what it was talking about is how do you train a whale? Well, what they're really trying to talk about is how do you deal with somebody that you just can't say, hey, look, go do what I told you. Well, one of the things that their concept being is that, you accentuate the things they do good, and you kind of ignore to some degree the things they do bad, and you help kind of push them towards what it is they're good at. And I think for us, that have learning disabilities or disabilities in general, just it's work towards things you're good at. Yes, that doesn't mean necessarily don't try to get better at some things you have a hard time with, but accept that that's a hard thing for you and you're trying. You know, you got to push yourself, but in the end, you got to be careful of trusting other people to push you too, because they'll push you too hard. You know, I'll be honest with you, I got to go back to work after being off a year, and man, I'm telling you, I had a rough time. Panic attacks, stress, anxiety. You know, I don't know how many times I literally, after about 6 hours, I looked like I was about to fall over. And the funny thing is, it's not really the physical, it's the mental that I'm having a problem with. It's just dealing with the changes. You know, unfortunately, I had to move back with my mother a few years ago, some because of my issues, but also she needs help. You know, we have the floors worked on this week. And I'll tell you what, I had a rough day, second day. I just stressed, couldn't handle it. And I finally realized it was just the difference, the changes. I couldn't go to the room I wanted to be in. I couldn't do, and man, it just wore me out. And you know, it's frustrating when I didn't have such a hard time before. But I'm also even then looking at that I just learned to hide and wall up certain things. And that wasn't healthy either. That led to my first real break, the big issue. You know, trying to hide things from people and be like what everybody else expects me to be. You know, and don't get me wrong, there's some things we have to learn to do to function in society. But we also have to be able to be ourselves to some degree. Burying things and hiding things, it'll catch up with you one day. And I think that as we, you know, and we talk about, like, I talk about ways that I think that are autistic or how I think a little odd. Somebody I think called it a God something, not a complex, but like I could say something to one person and just in my mind I said it to everybody. You know, there's certain things I actually get that other people don't get. You know, it's one of the things that's frustrating about the job I'm working at right now is they think they know everything, and yeah, they have a lot of experience in certain things, but the job they're trying to run, they've been only doing it for 5 years, and they think I don't know anything. That's like, everything you're trying, I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. But it's frustrating, like, you know, because they got on me about trying to learn something, and I try to tell them, look, if you'd help me and give me a little effort here, I can get it. I know how to teach myself, but no, you're just being lazy. You're wasting our money, and you're not trying hard enough. Well, no, that's a problem I have. And it's really frustrating and really hard. You know, I fought with it over the last 4 or 5 years of just like, you know, my issues. Am I just doing it to myself? It's just in my head? Am I crazy? You know, and it really reminds me of my times when I was working a couple of years ago with one of the girls I worked with. She had depression. She said, you know, I'm getting really tired of people telling me it's all in my head. Well, I told her, I said, let's step back for a minute. Let's assume it is all in your head. How easy is it to change your beliefs? And people will tell you, oh, it's easy. Well, it only happens a few times in your life where you really, you hit an extremist where you can really just completely wipe your belief system. You know, the core beliefs that you hold down in about yourself, in the world. And it's, you know, I talked to somebody the other day and, you know, you hear people say, well, just chuck it up and do it. And, well, yeah, technically you're right, but there's a lot of steps in between that. And it's not as just simple as that. And we sit and people judge us and, you know, and I know we all have different disabilities. You know, some of us it's easier to see, you know, but it's also the complaint about, you know, I have a friend that has fibromyalgia too. And she really got the spoon theory, and she said it's so frustrating because people just act like there's nothing wrong with you, or you're just making it up, or, you know, I had somebody tell me, oh, you must be a crackhead or something, that's what's wrong with you. And it's like, you know, no, this is what I fight with all the time. And I know it's frustrating for other people around me because sometimes you just can't count on me. Because sometimes, you know, I'll be honest, just like today, I got up about 8 o'clock, took Mom out to go get some stuff done that she wanted to buy and go shopping, and, you know, got home about 11:30, and I was supposed to have a sleep apnea test today. Well, they called me on the time we got home and told me, you know, insurance hasn't cleared it yet, so we're going to have to reschedule it. I'm not kidding. I went and laid down, and man, I slept almost 7 o'clock. couldn't tell you what. I still trying to figure out what it was that wore me out about that situation and what drained me energy wise or emotion. And it's frustrating for those things. And I just want to tell everybody out there that, if you've never heard of the spoon theory, look it up and check it out. It's a way to communicate some of the differences of what's harder for you once you read it. And keep your chin up. I know it's not easy. I fight with it all the time. I'm still fighting with it. But it is what we have in this world, and it's a chance to still be who we are. And the more we fight to show who we are and just be that way, you'll be happier. Now, is it easy? No. Everybody talks about, oh yeah, just do it. It's that simple. Well, it's not. But you take steps, and you keep working on it, and you'll get there. You just got to kind of learn to enjoy the process. And, I'll even say it here. I say that, and I know it's not easy, and I fight with it, oh, well, I should just give up, Well, you got to keep reminding yourself that, no, it's worth the fight. Getting there, doing the things you like to do, if people want to just tear you down or give you a hard time, find ways to kind of remove them to some level from your life if you can. I know I've talked to some people, especially like when you have to live with your parents or you have to live with somebody that kind of helps take care of you. It's hard sometimes because they want to treat you like a child, even though you're not a child, but you do have your issues, and that's can be so frustrating. So I guess the take out of there is check out the spoon theory and keep fighting, Power Up Gamers.